2020 was such, it was a difficult year, it was a defining year, and a revolutionary year, and an evolutionary year.
2020's triple whammy, if you will, of COVID-19, the resulting economic collapse, and the movement for social justice, the protests against racial injustice, hit our neighborhoods really hard.
First, and this is how I see it, Ahmaud Arbery. And then we have Breonna Taylor. And then George Floyd.
Rayshard Brooks' death in Atlanta, his murder.
And the pot just gets hotter and hotter. It never occurred to me that in my own American city, I would be tear gassed in the street, in a protest, in a peaceful protest. The rage is so real, it changes everything.
When the neighborhoods where we've been invited to work realized that they were being hit hard with the very first wave of COVID, all of the kinds of inequities that they had experienced for generations became more visible to people who lived outside of the neighborhood.
I keep saying George Floyd and what happened is actually the tip of the racist iceberg. At the bottom, you have the disparities in terms of education. You have disparities in income, in home ownership. The murder of George Floyd actually pulled back the covers on it all.
I really do think that racism is a threat to our national security. The juxtaposition of what happened at our Capitol on January 6th, where in Louisville, Kentucky, we had organized protests that were announced, planned, scheduled, and the police came with tanks and guns.
I think white people in general learned a lot over this past year about the challenges that Black and brown people knew they were experiencing.
Finally, we have a whole community that's asking questions that the Black community has known all the while and saying, so this is real, so what do we do to address it?
We look at our work absolutely as part of the civil rights movement and the movement for social justice.
We don't have to sit at lunch counters, but we are having our sit-ins. We are physically in the street protesting. We are physically threatened with jail. And then we are also involved in feeding people who are hungry, helping people not to be evicted, changing policy around education.
We have been working in terms of racial equity in housing, in jobs, in health, in early childhood, in education.
Place-based organizations have an absolutely essential role in their communities all the time. And so when COVID hit, when the protests hit, whether the issues are around needing more PPE, whether people needed help paying rent, whether children and adults needed access to the internet, they were in a position to both understand and respond to those needs in a very nimble and quick way.
It's building on, we're standing on the shoulders of every movement that's come before. I think it's an amazing continuation of the work and of the dream.
I don't think we can heal until we have had accountability.
We have to talk about the rage that we still feel. We still don't feel justice. Nobody has been arrested for Breonna Taylor's killing. Nobody. Justice requires change.
A great way for people to heal from their trauma is also when they're secure and they have a job and they have housing and their children are in a safe school that's educating them well.
In my mind, the solution is to understand the systems that have kept Black and brown people trapped in intergenerational poverty and work strategically to change those systems so that Black and brown people really have an ability at scale to participate in the American dream.
If we could somehow figure out a way to create policies that treat people with the humanity and the dignity that we all would want for ourselves, that we would really want for our children, we would do so much better.
Right now, we really have to capitalize on the energy of people who are finally noticing this work that is so central to the transformation of our country, because it's only going to happen neighborhood by neighborhood. And so we have to really put our foot on the gas pedal of the work that we were already doing. Family by family, community by community, child by child. It's our honor. And we have to ensure that this continues in earnest.